Reverend Laura is back. Yay. And this is a great topic. I've been looking and talking with her about it some, and the gateway of freedom is a fascinating universal way to look at, or a way to look at universal spirituality. So Laura has, we've known this for a good long while. She's a minister and educator for almost 40 years, trained ministers, leaders, individuals around the world, an author, biblical scholar, and spiritual coach, and the founder and leader of the Unity of Heartmind, an organization that provides education services and programs designed to awaken and sustain the wisdom and power of the united heart and mind. Wow. Okay. Laura, the platform is yours. And you're muted.
There we go. There we go. Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff, for that wonderful introduction. Thank you each for being here and taking time today to come together in community. Most of the work I do is from my office. My primary community connections are online these days, but I do have a lot of them, and it's just a joy to be with you in community today. And community is what we are here to be. We're here to be a community of people who are awakened and awakening, because awakening really is a process. It's not you don't get to a single state and then stay there for the rest of your life. It is a continued process of awakening to be fully present to the spiritual power that is in this moment. And that's the gateway to freedom. The gateway to freedom is the way to feel the freedom of spirit in the moment. Whatever is happening in the world, you can touch on that spiritual power within you. And it just so happens that one of the basic passages on the teachings of Jesus in the Gospels is filled with universal principle that helps you to ground yourself in those ideas that open the possibility of freedom for you in your choices, in your actions, in all that you do in life. Dr. George Lhamsa, how many of you have heard of Dr. Lhamsa? Yeah. Dr. George Lhamsa spent 30 years retranslating the Bible from its ancient Eastern manuscript, the Aramaic manuscript. It's often called the Lhamsa Bible, but it really is the Bible from ancient Eastern manuscripts, and it's from the Peshitta, which was the Bible of the Syrian church, which had the same language which used the same language that Jesus spoke. So what he did was he put teachings within the context of the culture out of which they came in doing that. And so that's where some of the perspective we have comes from today on the Beatitudes, because the Beatitudes are very holistic in their principles. In fact, Dr. Lhamsa called the Sermon on the Mount, which is opened with the Beatitudes, he called the Sermon on the Mount the constitution of spiritual teachings. And I think that it is my belief. Now, we could take this from we can pick any great passage in any great scripture and do this. But if you focus in on just those universal teachings through the Sermon on the Mount, you could spend a whole lifetime just awakening from that basis alone. You don't have to call yourself Christian unless that's what you want to do, unless that's your calling. But to focus on any group of universal teachings like this, really, really does take a lifetime. But with our minds the way they are, we love variety, and we love our diversity, and we love our colorful ways of being. So we seek out a plethora of teachings, but most all of them boil down to these basic principles that you find in the Sermon on the Mount and the Beatitude. Okay, so the Beatitudes. I chose this path. I was doing different world scriptures, but I chose this particular path because what has drawn my attention lately is the approaching election. Anybody aware of the approaching election in November? So I chose to do a two-part series on the Beatitudes because they are perfect attitudes for going into the voting booth, for going toward the election, for how we interact with others in this process. They just really bring us and ground us in those universal principles, in those spiritual principles that open our own sense of freedom. Okay. I was listening to the news on the television this morning while I was doing a little housework. I get up early, and one of the local ministers came on. I didn't catch who it was, but he pointed out something about what it is to be conservative and what it is to be liberal. And he said, what does it mean to be conservative? And basically he said it means you're trying to you're trying to ground yourself in and hold to what is good. You're trying to hold on to what is good. And to be liberal is you are seeking what is good through new ideas and through new expressions. And he said spirituality, or in his case, Christianity, welcomes all of that. And he said, our key to uniting with each other is to love your neighbor as yourself. There was a really good message, about a minute long. For me, I looked at that, being conservative is holding on to what is good. And then I put in the buts, but sometimes you have to let go of what is good for the better. Sometimes you have to release what has been good in your life, what has brought you up to here, to move into something even greater, even better. Greater things shall you do. Okay. But that phrase, by the way, greater things shall you do, was not just about, oh, you're going to be better than me in what you do. It was about you're ever evolving into greater things. Okay. Liberal, willing to take on new ideas, but don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Okay. So there are, there's a balance there that we seek. And where do we find that balance? We find it in these basic attitudes of being. We're going to do 4 of them today. And we're going to do 4 next time. There's also there are actually 9 of them, but that last one is sort of like the next to the last one. So we're going to do those as one. So let's put up our slides. What is our first slide? That's not Beatitudes at all. That is the preamble of our country's constitution. So we're looking at the Constitution of Spiritual Teachings. So let's look at our own domestic constitution of the United States. And if you're from somewhere else other than the United States, again, I believe these principles are universal, that were awakened in our forefathers enough to write them down. So who would like to start us off by reading the preamble of the Constitution for us? Who would like to read that? Anyone?
I got it.
Okay.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. To ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
Okay. So yes, and we hope that our posterity will experience prosperity as well. So yeah, isn't that powerful? Just that in itself. If we forget what we're about at any point in time as a nation, as a community of people of this nation, that is our quote Constitution. No pun intended there. All right. Or I should say pun intended. But what we do with this is we look at how it lives itself out in and through us. And that's something the Beatitudes can help us with. Let's go to the sources we're getting all of this from. So let's go to the next slide. All right, so we're getting this from the United States Constitution, the Gospel of Matthew, and I should have said Dr. George Lamsa, because my dad, what I got from my dad, he got from spending time with Dr. Lamsa over a number of years. And then there was my dad, Dr. Paul C. Barrett, and Laura Barrett Bennett. Okay, so I put PCB and LBB as abbreviations. Okay, for the next group, there they all are. Okay, that we're going to be looking at. And just take a moment just to look at those. These are the principles that each beatitude speaks to that we will be looking at this time and when I am with you again. Okay, and we're going to begin with that first one. All right, which is on our next slide. Humility. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. All right, so what does this mean? What does this mean? Poor in spirit, how does that translate? Most of us positive thinkers and new thoughters and universal spiritual folks, we like to stay away from terms like poor in spirit because we don't like the word poor. Okay. And we don't want to affirm that for ourselves, of course. But poor in spirit as a phrase refers to giving up that it's all about you. Okay. It refers to be poor in something means it's, you're releasing it. It's no longer in your life. You don't have it. You don't have this attitude of being all puffed up with your own ego. Now, all of us slip in and out of that. We do. Spirit actually refers to that breath of life in you. And when you've puffed yourself up with it, you give yourself a sense of self-importance. This is not about audacity. We have somebody else who teaches divine audacity. That's confidence. Real audacity is pure spiritual confidence. We're talking about when the ego takes over and you have to look good and you are worried about other people and what they think of you. Okay. It's like, enough about me. What do you think about me? It's that attitude. Okay. To be, let's see, to be, to have a large amount of spirit is to be puffed up in your own ego. That's what this culturally referred to. To be poor in spirit is to have very little ego. Now, or to have the ego be the subservient of the Holy Spirit. Have the ego be the subservient of the Holy Spirit. It actually is a term that literally means in the Aramaic culture, it means humility. Humility. Poor in spirit was the best the English Bible could do with it. The submersion of personal will into spiritual consciousness is what it refers to. The giving up of the lesser self for the greater self. It's that simple. So your ego is a good servant. It's not a very good ruler. It's not a very good ruler because your ego rules from fear. Your ego rules from fear. Your spiritual self rules from love. So when that fearful ego can give itself over to love, then it expresses itself in powerful and loving and healing ways. The metaphysical statement, to be blessed actually means to be content, to be satisfied, to be fulfilled in life. It means to be prosperous. To be blessed means to be prosperous, and to be prosperous means to be fulfilled. It might mean to be monetarily rich. It might mean just to be rich with the enjoyment of life. But to be blessed means to have that inner contentment. So the metaphysical statement is content is the humble mind immersed in the awareness of God. And that's our key right there, is to seek out God in all things, in yourself and in all things, or spirit, or the divine, or the universal presence, or the oneness that connects us all. You know, oneness with a capital O is another term for the divine, for God, because oneness refers to all of it. And what is God but all of it? So for the election preparation, okay, the awareness of God also refers to the kingdom of heaven. Kingdom of heaven, heaven, the Aramaic root for heaven means expand, transcend, get greater than, be greater than. So we expand into this greater awareness in our consciousness of heaven. Content is the humble mind immersed in the awareness of God. For the election preparation, mentally shift from me to we. It's that simple. As you're going into the election, it doesn't mean you give up what's good for you, but it means you recognize that what's good for you is also good for others, or what's good for others is also good for you. You shift from me to we. The verbal warm-up for being wealthy in spirit, for being rich in spirit, is me, 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 me. It's all about me. But to be humble is to know that whatever you are doing that's good for you is good for all. And from the Constitution, from the preamble, we the people. So when you walk into that voting booth, think in terms of we the people. I am walking with all people into this voting booth. All right, next. Positive remembrance. Positive remembrance. Okay. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Now, how is mourning positive remembrance? Because to mourn is to feel deeply about something good that is being missed in your life. If we lose people in our lives or pets or something where we, some relationship, or just we split off from a relationship, or we leave a job, whatever it is that has provided some good, some connection for us. When we mourn, it means we are recognizing there was something good in that, and it's no longer physically present with me. It's no longer present in a manifest way. So, so when we allow ourselves the depth of those feelings, when we allow those, not wallow in them, but when we just allow them to be what they are, they leave us with a memory of what was good. How many of you have been to a memorial service? Or we call them a celebration of life. Now, why do we call them a celebration of life? Because what are we doing? We are remembering the goodness that this life, this person was in our lives and still is in that remembrance. So the metaphysical statement tells us that our minds can be content when we honor and release the past, for it is assured of conscious union with God. And that's what comforting is. It's conscious union with God. It is feeling that love wrap around us and then fill us. So I'm going to invite you in this moment to remember something that is no longer in your life. Just remember something that you miss in your life, someone or something. And just for a moment, let yourself just feel what you feel. And then remember what it is, why it is you feel that way. What was good in that relationship, in that person, in that thing? And now recognize that you have the power right now to bring that good, those good qualities into this present moment. You have the power right now to bring those good qualities into this present moment. It's like building your own field of dreams. I watched that movie again last night. And if you haven't watched it lately, it's on Netflix now. I recommend it because it's not about being stuck in the past. It's about bringing what was good in the past into your present field of experience. And that's what they call heaven. That's what they call heaven. Is this heaven? No, it's Iowa, But actually, it's where the goodness of the past could be fulfilled. It's where the goodness of the past could be fulfilled. And that movie always makes me cry. It's one of those, doesn't matter how many times I've seen it. It always has that moment when he starts playing catch with his dad, if you haven't seen it, but I recommend it. When the main character starts playing catch with his dad, it always gets me because I remember all of the people that I, quote, played catch with in my life who are no longer in it. And yet I'm remembering the goodness and the good memories they left with me. Okay, so heal the past by honoring the good and building on it. And building on it. And this, from the Constitution, ensures domestic tranquility. What's our next beatitude? I'm looking at our time here. Okay. All right. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. There's a line from the wicked character in the musical Camelot, Mordred, the king's nephew. And he's trying to take over the throne, you see. So he's got all these scheming plots going and everything. So Mordred says at one point, it's not the earth the meek inherit, it's the dirt. And basically, hey, I don't know about you, but I could sure use some good dirt in my garden. So there's a lot to be said for dirt, by the way. Dirt is made of star stuff just like we are. So the meek shall inherit the earth actually refers to just as how can I say it? Poor in spirit refers to getting from me to we. So this being meek refers to moving from I know it all to I am teachable. I am teachable. Meekness is a teachable attitude that leads to spiritual dominion over your environment, which is a rephrasing of what my dad said about it. To be meek is to be teachable, to be with adversity while remaining anchored in spiritual understanding, to let adversity teach us something. And it does that when we remain anchored in spiritual understanding. So our minds are content in their willingness to learn from life. And this gives us spiritual dominion. Dominion isn't about control. Dominion is about having a beneficial relationship with your domain, whether it's your family, your home, your community, your world. It's about having a beneficial relationship, which means you take on a sense of responsibility and stewardship. Metaphysically, it also means having a beneficial relationship or having dominion with your own thinking. So to prepare for the election, we must be willing to learn and discern. And this helps us, to use the phrases from the Constitution, from the preamble there. This helps us to obtain and establish what is good. Obtain and establish what is good. Content is the mind in its willingness to learn from life, for with it we obtain spiritual dominion. We inherit the earth. All right, next beatitude. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Righteousness, we say in unity, we say righteousness refers to right useness of spiritual principle, right useness of spiritual principle. Again, it's using spiritual principle to promote the things of spirit, not using spiritual principle to build up your own ego. That's why the whole thing starts with being poor in spirit, because spiritual principle can be used for anything, including building up our own egos. But I remember a great spiritual teacher of mine once said, if you have an inflated ego, watch out, because it is much easier to pop an inflated balloon than a deflated one. Okay, so watch out about inflating your own, not self-worth, but self-importance, your own the look at me, the me part of it. So justice is what comes out of right useness of spiritual principle. And what is justice? It is a balance. Think of the image of justice. What is the image of justice? It's a scale, isn't it? That balances. To use principle rightly is to bring balance to your life. It's to know when it's time to meditate and when it's time to act. It's to know when it's time to, how can I say it? Be sweet and nice, and when it's time to be firm, and know that both are a part of expressing love. The right use of spiritual principle will guide you into that place of balance. So, how do we use spiritual principle rightly? We practice equanimity. We know we start off with the basis that all, not just all men, women, children, all things are created equal. And we act with the integrity. That means every aspect of us, our mental, emotional, and physical being, they all, when they are totally aligned and working as an equalized team within us, when we are aligned in spirit, mind, heart, and body, we are in integrity. That's what integrity is. It's wholeness. Integrity is wholeness. And that's when we find our balance in life. Okay. Wow, I'm going to keep moving. So our gateway to freedom is to mentally shift from me to, let's back up a minute. I forgot the constitutional piece. The constitutional piece, of course, is establish justice. In other words, establish balance in your life between those times of meditation and those times of taking action. So I'm going to say one more thing about that. So as the election is approaching, we might ask ourselves, am I holding this event and others and all who are everyone who's going to walk into that voting booth, am I holding them in the light, in my own prayer and meditation? Am I holding them in the light, in my own prayer and meditation? And also, what am I doing in the world? What action am I taking to make this experience that is coming up, this event that is coming up, beneficial to all people? And remember, what I say about the election applies to anything in life, anything. Am I holding the people at work in the light? And what action can I take to make things more beneficial for all? Am I holding my community in the light? And what actions can I take to make things more beneficial for all? Am I holding myself and my own physical condition? Am I holding my body in the light? And what actions can I take that are beneficial for my physical well-being? There are all kinds of things. Hold it in the light and take action. This is the divine balance that establishes justice. And it means we're not afraid to be accountable. That's part of integrity. And to make sure that we have accountability in the world around us. Okay, now I'm done with justice. Let's move to the next one. Gateway to freedom is to mentally shift from me to we. Be humble. Heal the past by honoring the good and building on it. Allow yourself to feel what there is to feel. Then remember the good qualities. Then build on those. And I don't know about you, but when I was training for giving memorial services, one of the things we were taught to say is to remind people of the good qualities of the person who is no longer with us, and to commit to expressing those qualities with each other. Be willing to learn and discern. Be willing to learn. Be teachable. Know that you don't know it all. If there's one thing, I don't know about you all, do you have this experience? The older I get and the more I learn, the more I realize I still have a lot to learn. You know, do you have that experience? Yeah, the more I know, the more I know I don't know. And it's okay, because that state of I don't know is a very sacred place to be. It's a very sacred place to be. I don't know, but I am willing to learn. Be willing to learn and discern and practice equanimity and act with integrity. These are the keys to the gateway of freedom. This mental shift, this inner healing by feeling what we feel, bringing it into the light and building on the good, being willing to learn and discern and to practice equanimity, that balance, that justice, that right useness of spiritual principle that brings wholeness to yourself and everything. All right. I think it's time for our meditation. Yes, we'll play that in just a moment. I chose the anthem of the African American culture today for our music. Some of you may be familiar with it. I first became familiar with it when I was teaching at Unity, and I had volunteered for a choir, and it was sung in one of the chapel services. And I thought, wow, this is an amazing piece of music. And it has always touched my heart ever since, every time I hear it. And you'll see how amazing it is when you see the actual words, because the version I chose from YouTube actually displays the words. And even though some of the words are kind of tough to see, just take in those words at the end of our meditation, and maybe we can talk about them a little bit in our coffee time when we get there. So let's just take a deep breath and close our eyes. And in this moment, wherever you are, whatever is around you, I want you to feel your connection with it, your oneness with it. You might be surrounded by the comfort of things in your home or your office. Just feel connected with all that is around you, because in this immediate environment, these are the very things you have chosen to be there, to put there. And now move beyond your immediate environment to the community that surrounds you. I hope you're not hearing it, but I can hear a lawnmower going outside my window. Someone is out and active today, taking care of their environment. But just take in the community around you and know that every person in it is a divine creation. All of nature in your community, as it demonstrates itself through the trees or the squirrels or the birds or whatever it is a divine creation. And let your oneness with the people and with creation expand to cover the globe. And know this for all people and places. And if any of those places that are, and people who are hurting right now come to mind, just hold every person in the light as a divine creation, knowing that we all have the power to find peace, to rightly use principle, to renew, rebuild, and bring wholeness to our world. As we move from me to we, as we heal the past by honoring the good and building on it, as we are willing to learn from each other and discern what expresses truth and wisdom, and as we practice equanimity, knowing that all things are created equal, and that we are here to be whole and complete in our unity with all things. And for a silent moment, let us dwell in that unity. And take a deep breath. And let this wonderful piece of music from the African American community and culture awaken in us that sense of equality, of freedom, of growing through challenging times and coming to a place of balance and integrity. All right, here we go. That's a powerful song, powerful song. Oh, good, good. Yeah, and it's for a, it's out of it, it's born out of a particular culture, but it's for anyone who has gone through any form of struggle or suffering to come into the light, to have that inner strength to come into the light. Those are the keys to freedom. Humility, humility and positive remembrance and meekness and desire for justice. Those are the keys to freedom as we approach the election, as we approach anything in our lives. God bless.
Laura, thank you. That's you did exactly what you said you would do, and as we talked earlier, and it's just wonderful. It put the Beatitudes into a very universal and at the same time specific light. So thanks. Wow, I very much appreciated that.